Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Want to jump back in here, talk a little bit of recruiting because the dead period is almost over. Business is going to pick up. We've got a visit coming up for a 5-star wide receiver. We're going to get into that, but it's time to get back into the world of recruiting. It's time to dive into spring camp. It's right around the corner, less than a month away. I made a video a couple of days ago talking a little bit about recruiting, talking about Josh Heupel in his 3 years at Tennessee. And, he's actually landed more 5-stars than any other coach did during their time at Tennessee since the Philip Fulmer era. If you look at the On3 industry rankings, Josh Heupel has signed Nico. He signed Mike Matthews. He signed Jordan Ross. He's also signed George McIntyre, who right now doesn't show as a 5-star, but let me go ahead and tell you something, guys. Go ahead and bet your life savings that George McIntyre is going to be a 5-star quarterback before it's all said and done. And we talk about on this channel all the time the importance of stacking recruiting classes, right? Year in, year out. And I think Josh Heupel's done a good job of that when you look at the quarterback position. The fact that he did get Nico, he added Nico to the boat. He's still got Jake Merklinger, who a lot of people are sleeping on. He's a competitor. He is a guy that's going to come in. He's going to compete for that job with or without George McIntyre, but you add George into the boat. So the quarterback position, they've done a great job. And competition breeds success, right? Iron sharpens iron. Let the chips fall where they may. I think Rodney Garner and his defensive line done a great job stacking recruiting classes. And year in, year out, we're going to have talent in that position group. But I think another group that's worth talking about is the wide receivers, right? You go back to the class of 22, and I think you're going to see a couple of these guys competing for a starting job this coming spring camp, also into fall camp. That's Caleb Webb. He was a 4-star, ranked 217th nationally. Squirrel White, 4-star, 371st nationally, out of the state of Alabama, right? You went into Alabama and you won that one. Your evaluation was on point. Tennessee was on Squirrel White early. Alabama came calling late. Tennessee got him in the boat. Chaz Nimrod rounds out that class of 22. In the class of 23, you landed Nathan Laycock, 4-star wide receiver, 75th ranked player in the country. Now, you still got to develop. Nathan Laycock's a guy that we didn't see much from. So we'll see how his development goes over the next year or two. The class of 24 was huge. You added Mike Matthews, 5-star wide receiver, 26th best player in the country. You also added Braylon Staley. But now when we talk about stacking, you got to continue to do it. The class of 25, I think because of the commitment from George McIntyre, you're going to have an opportunity to go out and land a guy like Jamie French, a 5-star wide receiver. You got some good in-state talent at that position as well, with Radarius Jackson, Cam Sparks. But another guy that Tennessee has a legitimate shot for, that is 5-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham. He's gone ahead and scheduled his visit. He will be in town sooner rather than later. We're going to get into it. We're going to break it down. But as always, guys, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up just below the video. It's quick, it's free, it's easy, it helps the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you're new to the Talkin VAWLS Network, welcome. We're not experts here. We're not insiders. We're not media. We don't talk at you. We talk with you. This channel is for the fans, by the fans. If you like what we do, make sure you subscribe, click that bell for notifications. You're not going to miss out when we go live or when we drop a video. We're live every Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We talk Tennessee football. We play a little NCAA football. We're also going to do a fan call-in watch party. For the members of the Watch Party Enthusiast tier, you will get the link and have an opportunity to come on next Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Tennessee versus Auburn on the basketball court. So make sure you join us for that as well. But let's jump into it. Let's talk about who Caleb Cunningham is, and then we're going to kind of take a look at his visit schedule. 6'3", 185-pound wide receiver out of Mississippi, 5-star prospect. Again, you talk about stacking these classes. You got Mike Matthews, who was a 5-star. You got Braylon Staley this last cycle, who is a highly, highly rated 4-star. Can you stack Caleb Cunningham? Can you stack Jamie French? Can you stack some of these guys on top of each other and then let the competition fall where it may, right? Let these guys go out and compete for a starting job. That's how we close the gap. And that was the point of the video I made a couple of days ago. I'll link it at the end of this. It's all about closing the gap to the Georgias, to the Alabamas. 11th ranked player in the country, number 2 ranked wide receiver in the country, according to the On3 industry rankings. This is a scouting report from 247 Sports. Gabe Brooks says, unverified size and athleticism, but clearly possesses physical traits and excellent functional athleticism on tape. No less about him than most of the other wideouts in the class, but definitely aware that he's a dynamic basketball player with big production on the hardwood. Translates body control and bounce to ball-winning mismatch effectiveness at the wideout position. It goes on to say he's unstoppable in red zone situations, strong-handed in traffic, runs hard in run after catch situation, bowls his way through arm tackles, long striding gait that creates necessity for build-up speed, natural route sense and spatial awareness, question the top-end athlete from speed and lateral perspectives relative to others in the class, though athletic profile is admittedly excellent with the hoops context. Projects as a high major impact player with a long-term ceiling that could lead to NFL draft consideration. Again, when we talk about the wide receivers position at the University of Tennessee and adding these guys year in and year out, Velus Jones hit the nail on the head. And I go back to it all the time. What wide receiver would not want to play in this offense? We're going to take a look at his scheduled visits coming up. One of the things you got to look at, too, when it comes to Caleb Cunningham is his relationship with George McIntyre. And that's a big part of this. He visited during the George game. That's when George McIntyre was also in town. Loved the atmosphere. So many people worried because Tennessee didn't win that football game. Didn't matter. Even George said after his visit, he's like, look, it's Georgia. We get it. But I love the University of Tennessee. George commits to the University of Tennessee. And what I love about it is George McIntyre on all of his visits. I've talked about this when we mentioned David Sanders, the five-star offensive tackle. Same situation there with the relationship. George was never recruiting these guys to go to Alabama. He was never recruiting them to go to Tennessee or to go to Georgia or to go to wherever. He was always recruiting them to come play with him. He was playing checkers. Everybody else was playing chess. So that relationship with George was huge. Matt Ray even put out an article after the George commitment, and it was the reactions from other prospects in the class of 25. This is what Caleb Cunningham had to say after George McIntyre's commitment to Tennessee. He says, that is my guy. We stay in touch. He's a really good quarterback. I had the feeling he was going to stay home and play for Tennessee. I can just see him playing in that offense. I can see him there at Tennessee, and we could be that dynamic duo one day in college. Chad Simmons put out an update after Georgia's commitment talking about Caleb Cunningham. Says it's always hard for the program to get the best players out of the state of Mississippi, but Tennessee is now in a better spot than it was before McIntyre's commitment. The two have had some conversations. McIntyre will now work to get Caleb Cunningham back in Knoxville, and the Vols are in the mix. Tennessee has some work to do here. Mississippi State has been trending. Ole Miss is in play, and like Tennessee, multiple ACC and SEC schools are becoming serious contenders. Now, Caleb Cunningham, there was a lot of buzz around Mississippi State. There's even a crystal ball in over at 247 Sports. It's been put in for quite some time. A lot of people thought he was actually going to pull the trigger and commit. So then the conversation became, can you hold off Mississippi State, and can you get him on campus? Well, that's where this article comes into play. Chad Simmons put this out a few days ago. Five-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham has numerous spring visits lined up. It says here, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, LSU, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee all made the top 11 for Caleb Cunningham after taking visits to Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma in January and early February. Cunningham has lined up some spring visits. And again, that January time period, a lot of junior days, we got derailed by the weather, had such a big opportunity and missed that opportunity because of the weather when George committed early. But now we go through the dead period, and it's about to open back up. I'm excited, man, because March, you get a lot of visit activity. Spring camp starts up, and then we get hot and heavy in recruiting going into the summer. Here's the quote from Caleb Cunningham. Says he'll be at Ole Miss on March the 4th, Alabama on the 6th, LSU the 8th through the 9th, Florida State on the 23rd, Auburn on the 30th, and he'll be in Tennessee on April the 1st. Also mentions Miami, Florida, Texas A&M. It says Mississippi State will get a visit too, but I can go there multiple times because it's just 30 minutes from home. It says what Cunningham told On3 in January about his timeline remains the same. He is in no rush. Says I'm going to stay patient with everything. It's a little overwhelming at times, so I'm taking my time, and I could take official visits in the summer and during the season. Not really sure yet. Right now, I'm thinking I will make my decision closer to signing day in December, which, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for the Vols when, again, so much buzz about him trending to Mississippi State, as long as Tennessee is in the conversation. And that's why I've been saying so much early in 2024. This is the year of the Vols. Tennessee has to go out and prove it. You go out and go 10-2. You go out and get a college football playoff berth, then the buzz is only going to continue rolling into 2025 when Nico's going to be a second-year starter, third year in the system, knowing that Jake Merklinger, knowing that George McIntyre are also in the waiting to take over at that quarterback position. This is what he had to say about the Vols. You scroll down here, it says the Tennessee atmosphere is absolutely crazy. crazy. They've got a good coaching staff they call me about every day. I would love to play with their quarterback commit, George McIntyre. I love their offensive scheme as well. Now, Chad Simmons also put out a Simmons scoop. This was on February the 8th, so this was a little bit further removed from the George McIntyre commitment. Says the buzz since Lebby took over as the head coach at Mississippi State. Caleb Cunningham has become a personal target for him. Yes, Chad Bumpus and other coaches are involved, but Lebby wants Cunningham in Starkville. Program right up the road is the one to beat. The 5-star has plenty of options and will take many visits, but Mississippi State is in the driver's seat early. Florida State, Ole Miss, and Tennessee are some schools expected to compete with the Bulldogs. So again, 5-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham is going to be on Rocky Top coming up April the 1st. We'll continue to track it, continue to keep you guys updated. We'll be dropping a lot of recruiting information over the coming weeks as the dead period starts to end. But jump into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts about stacking recruiting classes, about Josh Heupel, what he's done through 3 years of recruiting, the wide receiver position as a whole. I think we're going to have a serious competition for that outside spot opposite of Brew McCoy going into spring camp. But also smash the thumbs up on the way out the door. Go check out the Talkin VAWLS merch, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. That link is also in the description below. Don't forget to join us Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for a watch party. But this is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.